He's a beautiful girl.
All right. I believe we're live streaming. I'll have somebody check there shortly, but it's good to have everybody with us tonight. I got one more button to push over here, and then we'll be live over here. And it's so good to have everybody with us tonight. There comes Will in, and we'll let Terry greet everybody that's in the Zoom room. But I want to say I appreciate everybody that's coming in through Power Faith Radio. We got some good response this week. On the radio, wondering where you were going next, Terry. So we kind of filled them in what you're going to do tonight. But it's good to have everybody there listening with us. Listen, you can send us an email. Just send that email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. You can also go over to our Facebook page, A Simple Walk, and there you can find all the links, especially the link on how to come into this Zoom room. We'd love to see you in the Zoom room. I know a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna try to make it," and then of course that it just takes that initiative. But we understand how the world works.
Well, they don't have to have their cameras on.
Right.
They want to just come in and still be a part of it.
Yeah. So all right. Without further ado, I'm going to send it over to you. I made that rhyme. I can almost do it every time. Terry Hayes, take it away. Hayes and Way didn't work right, did it?
There you go. Looks like Karen and them said they're not seeing us on YouTube. Are we up and running on YouTube?
While you're talking, I'm going to go over here and look.
Okay, yes. Ronald says we are. Okay.
Okay,
we are. All righty. Greetings, everyone, and welcome again to our Wednesday night Outreach Noah class. Let's just greet everyone here in the Zoom room first. Someone's coming in. Wendell's coming in. Someone's get him. Of course, we got Scotty up. He's down in the engine room poking buttons and everything. He said he may end up disappearing for a few minutes. He's got some buttons that wants to pop back at him. And just won't leave him alone tonight.
I'm working on him. Every time I think, okay, I got it snoozed, it comes back up and says, you need to restart.
Yeah. But if he has to restart, we'll be able to continue on ongoing. We've got that situation covered there. Of course, we got Ronald and Bob and Sabra. Thomas, glad to see Thomas with us tonight. He's been a little under the weather, but hoping for him to get better. Wendell, and then we got Amuela and Harold and Karen. Veronica, you still in Canada?
I am, probably for another week and a half, maybe.
Okay. All right. Then we have Will also here tonight. And tonight, what we're going to do is we've had some questions that came in from last week. So I kind of titled this one here, as part 31A. We're still covering the subject, the contemplation of the prohibition of forbidden relations. And we're going to kind of answer a few questions tonight. Came in one that was on the YouTube channel. I wrote it down and has gone through, and we're going to cover it. And then Scotty gave me one the other day, and I think he's got a few more that I don't know about just yet, but he's got a few things he told me he had that's come in as well. So that's what we hope to do tonight, is cover a few questions from this subject on the prohibition of forbidden relations. And Hashem willing, unless we need to go another week to cover this, we will. If Hashem willing, we'll start next week with a new subject on the prohibition of theft. Now, that one we may end up be a few weeks doing that one as well, because that's that one there we probably study for the next year and not even scratch it. So, Scott, are you about ready?
I am ready. I have a story. I'm going to tell the story, Terry, before we get into this. So, I always hear, and sometimes this is, well, no, it says it's always true that everything happens for a reason. Some things happen for directions. Some things happen because we made the wrong decisions. And some things are life, but they always, if you just kind of follow Hashem, they will always turn out to the good. But on July 4th, I went to use one of my cards from my credit establishment, and it was declined. And so as I went to use another one, it was declined. I thought, what in the world has happened? Now it's July 4th and the banks are closed. So I went to use my debit card, and it was declined. So I got on my apps on my phone. You know how you can do that now? You can just get on your app and find out everything that's going on in the world. And all my accounts were locked up. I thought, what in the world is going on? And I told myself, I said, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll wait till the banks open tomorrow, and then I'll make some calls and find out. So sure enough, Friday came, and I made some calls, and they said, we don't know what happened. We do know that for some reason your bank account was kind of locked up, and that made all your payments on your cards not go through, and so there you are. Everything's locked up. And they said, we can't get a hold of corporate because they're not going to be open till Monday. I said, well, ain't corporate nice to have a full long weekend? So trying to make a long story short, I didn't worry about it. I was able to get some funds and just operate during the weekend. Come Monday morning, I went up to the bank and sat in the establishment. The manager was waiting on me, and this particular manager, this lady, I had seen her from time to time walking through the building, and you know how I don't know if anybody knows it, but I'm not shy. And so everybody knew me, and she had known of me, but we had never met. So we went to her office and we sat down, and she says, okay, let's find out what's going on. She made a call to corporate. Corporate said, we don't know. We're going to have to call you back, blah, blah, blah. So it took about 45 minutes. During this time, you know how I just started talking. And the more I talked, the more she was listening. And we was talking about giving charity and doing good deeds and everything. And so I got to leave out some of it because it points to a certain religion. And but she said, I can tell by you talking, by your voice, are you a preacher by chance? And I said, well, you know, I used to be that, but I still am somewhat, I guess so. And so she asked me what faith I was. And I said, well, I'm Jewish, but not Jewish. I believe in the Jewish God. I'm the term what they call. Well, while she was asking me what faith I was, when I said Jewish but not Jewish, she got up and closed the door. She didn't want everybody else out in the office listening because everybody out there is steeped in, you know, the main religion around here. And so I said, I'm a Noahide. And her eyes got that big. My husband and I has just been researching that. And we are trying to find information and we can't find the proper Torah, because when we put in Torah, we get a lot of stuff that we could tell by looking at the title. It's been manipulated, and we're trying to find something we've just been studying that. So when I left her office, to make a long story short, I found a new couple, a Noahide couple living right here in Blount County, and we are taking them a Hamish tomorrow, and because they've been looking for one, didn't know how to find it, didn't know anything about it, and so I said all that to say this: if that hadn't happened to my accounts, I would not have met them. So that happened to bring that together. Now, I could have told the Creator another way to do it besides doing it that way on me.
Well, I mean, how simple? Tell the simplicity of the mistake that locked it down to begin with.
Somebody typed in the wrong number. Somebody's account was getting locked, and they typed in the wrong number, and it was just click, everything was fixed. So, I mean, Hashem, the Creator, never ceases to amaze me on things that He's set in place and His purpose and His order. And So, all right. All right. Having said all of that, but anyway, we're taking them. I got a hummus right here on the shelf behind me. We're going to take them. And so we're looking forward to meeting them tomorrow afternoon. So let's get into our Sadaka time. We appreciate everybody who has contributed and has sent us in names for our Sadaka time. And as always, Terry and I give Sadaka for our main teacher. His name is Pesach and his wife Shira Sherbo. They live in Sfat, Israel. Giving Sadaka for them tonight. Also, we're giving Sadaka for Rabbi Moshe Schulman and everything that he is doing for us. And then Nadine Akins. We've got Nadine Akins on our Sadaka list tonight. And Wendy Shepard is still on our Sadaka list tonight. Also, where'd I get to? William and Tina Lyons is on our Sadaka list tonight. And Kathleen Suits. Did I get that name correct, Terry?
Yeah.
And how is Kathleen doing?
She's doing pretty good. I talked to Ronnie. See what's today? I think first of the week he texted me, and he texted me a video. It was kind of cool. He was out doing some watering in his yard, and a hummingbird came up and was drinking the water from where he's. And he shot a little video with his phone, was showing me with his water hose, and this hummingbird at the end of his water hose, drinking some water from that. And then so he called me a little bit later and said she's doing better.
Okay, good deal.
But I'd have something else to report on my daughter, where they found those new nodules on the left side of her. I think it's the left side of her thyroid, because they had to take one side out, thyroid gland, because it was cancerous. Her blood work came back, and they said there's nothing to be worried about right now. They're going to keep a watch on it, but everything's clear. So she got a good report on that.
Well, give me say her name right
Amber.
now.
Amber Asbury, Asbure.
We're going to put that Sadaka in there for her right now.
Burry.
Okay, and Fred, I see you answered let's see.
Oh, there's Fred.
Yeah, Fred, you're going to have to unmute and say that name for me, Fred. You know I'm from Townsend.
Townsend? Where the hell's that at?
That's we got to pipe in the sunshine here, son. So go ahead. That's Kathy
Yadlowski. She was a RN RN for the VA that retired about a couple 2 years ago. Kathy Yadlowski.
We're giving
Is
Sadaka
her
right
last
now.
name? Okay, in memory of.
In memory of. Okay.
Yeah, she passed just a couple days ago.
Okay.
Thank you.
Remember, I'm going to do that again here just in a minute when I do the blessed memory. I'm going to get you to say that name again for me. So don't go away too far. Let's see now where I got to. Warwick Marshall. We're giving Sadaka for Warwick Marshall tonight. And Chrissy Seaton. Ronald, can you give us an update on Chrissy?
Just a little one. Yesterday I got a short text saying she's had the surgery, the heart valve's been replaced, and it all went successfully, and she's in recovery. So I'm not sure when the operation happened. She said she'd let me know beforehand, but she didn't, and I didn't bother her by contacting her, and I just got that short message. So far, so good.
Okay, good deal. We're going to continue to give Sadaka for her and also for Ty Thompson. How is Ty doing, Ronald? Have you heard any extra info on Ty?
Not really, because Chrissy's not contacting much. So, but last report was he was home and doing well and slowly recovering. I have the brace on his head for up to 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah, he's seems okay. He's quite lucid, talking as normal. There's been no hiccups there.
Okay. Also tonight on our Sadaka list is Clifford and Harleen Hool. Clifford and Harleen Hool. And then Patsy Baisley is on our Sadaka list tonight. And Shlomo Zulman is on our Sadaka list tonight. And speaking of Ronald Dickman is on our Sadaka list tonight. Ronald, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you very much.
Now, Chrissy's not here to tell on you. Am I going to have to send a message to her and let her?
Okay. I got to pop out for a second.
Okay. He's getting a floor fix. So all right. So Ronald is on there. Now, we got Thomas Schaus on our list twice tonight. The first Sadaka we're giving for Thomas is, you can see he's kindly on oxygen tonight. He's going through some medical issues, so we're giving Sadaka for that. And then also somebody always sends in $1 with Thomas's name on it. Now, Thomas, this is your dollar going into the Sadaka box for whatever we give that to. And then they, at the same time, they also send $1 in for Amuela Asher. This is Amuela's dollar going into the Sadaka box. And then they also send one in for Veronica Port. And let me get that in here. And then also, I always love giving Thanksgiving Sadaka. And I'm not gonna it's summertime, so I'm not going to bring up the winter things, but it looks to me like Wendell's on vacation because his background is completely different than what it is normally. Are you on vacation, Wendell? You're still muted. You're still muted. Wait, you're still muted? Can he do it? He's working on it. He's working on it.
There we go. There
you
No.
are.
No, I'm not on vacation. Actually, I racked up and hyperflexed my knee, so I've been receiving treatment this week. So I'm just laying down
Okay.
tonight.
Okay, so we're giving Thanksgiving Sadaka for you and Mary, and now we're giving Sadaka for you to get that so that knee can repair itself. So we're giving Sadaka for there. Also tonight we have on our blessed memory. Now, Fred, you get ready to come back in there if you will and pronounce that name for me again. But we have on our blessed memory tonight Nancy Todd Overall. She's on our blessed memory tonight. And then what's that other Kathy Islick? Where Fred must have, there he is. Say it, Fred.
Yad Losky. Jewish, it's Polish. Yad Losky.
Okay. Well, we're giving blessed memory Sadaka for her. Okay. Bear with me just for a minute. My computer has just turned off my a modern technology. Isn't it supposed to help us? Isn't modern technology supposed to help us? That's what I'm thinking it is. So okay, here we are. Would you pray with us tonight? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor, for we know that you are a God who hears prayers and supplications. Our King, you are our King. Do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen.
Hey.
All right, Terry, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you jump into those questions since you've got them written down, and I'm going to have to do a couple things over here pretty quick, or I'm going to be out and have to come back in. So go right ahead, Terry. I'm going to put you on speaker view, Terry.
All righty. Are we ready? Okay. Again, greetings everyone here in the Zoom room. Like Scotty said earlier, if you want to go over to a simple walk, you can click the link to the Zoom room and come on in if you want to, and be a part of the live class here. Also, want to greet again the radio station, Power Faith Radio. Thank you all for coming and listening to us each week, wherever you're at in the world. I know we've kind of attracted a pretty large audience on on the other side of the planet. I hear sometimes Scotty gives me some numbers and I'm like, really? Kind of blows me away. I'm kind of glad we're on here looking at the Zoom room and not that those large numbers he looked at. You know, I don't know if I would get stage fright, but I'd get over it. But yes, the radio station, Power Faith Radio, internet radio, broadcasts all over the world. And we enjoy hearing from people from wherever you're at in the world. You want to just email us, like Scotty said, at any time at outreachnoah@gmail.com. Just shoot us a link. Let us know you're listening. Let us know if there's any questions you may have that we can put on our list, and we'll get to them when we can, because we like doing the question and answer sessions. When we get a variety of questions, we like to sometimes take a couple of weeks and go through those. But tonight we're going to go through a few questions that came in this last week. Two of them that I have. This first one comes from last week off of the YouTube channel it was really a good question, one that really I hadn't even thought about, because I hadn't really looked into this subject yet, because of my studies always takes me other directions. So I like getting questions like this that, you know, drags me over here to another area where I can like learn and study it. And it's been a good read. It's going to be a quick answer, but I'm not going to give it quickly because I want to cover everything that I found on it, because I found it really interesting. But the question, I'm just going to read it the way it was posted on YouTube. And it says, what about Lot's daughters? Because we're talking about forbidden relations. What about Lot's daughters? They that believed that the entire world had been destroyed and that they were the only survivors, and therefore resorted to incest in order to preserve the human race. And so I did my research. I looked it up. And so I want to share everything that I found on that question. And yes, they did think that the world had come to an end, that they were the only ones that were left, similar to the flood. What we're going to look at tonight is this section here in Genesis chapter 29. Excuse me, I got those long eyelashes that my mom gave me. They love to hit my glasses. All right. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 29 I'm going to read verses 30 through 36 out of the Ark Scroll Chumash here on Genesis. In verse 30 of chapter 29, it says, now Lot went up to Zoar and settled on the mountain. His two daughters was with him, for he was afraid to remain in Zoar. He dwelt in a cave with his two daughters. The older one said to the younger, our father is growing old, and there is no man to marry us in the usual manner. Come and let us ply our father with wine and lay with him, and we may give life to offspring through our father. So they plied with their father with wine on that night, and the older came and lay with her father, and he was unaware of her lying down or of her getting up. Let's see, where was I? Yeah, 36. And it was it was on the next day that the older one said to the younger one, behold, I lay with my father last night. Let us ply him with wine tonight as well, and come and lay with him, and we may give life to offspring through our father. So they plied their father with wine that night also, and the younger got up and lay down with him, and he was not aware of her lying down and getting up. Thus Lot's two daughters conceived from their father. Before I get into the commentary on a specific verse here in this passage, let me see. Oh no, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to go to the divine code and read. So the question was, what about Lot's daughters who laid with him, thinking that the world was over, just like at the flood, and there was no one to marry? And according to sages, that was true. Some actually thought of that, because even the town they went to, Zoar, was actually, sages says, was part of that destruction, that there was no one left there. And here in verse 31, where it says, and there is no man to marry us, or it's an idiom, to consort with us in the usual manner, or literally in the manner of all the earth, meaning, husband and wife cohabitation. It says, according to Rashi, they thought the whole world had been destroyed as it was during the flood. For she thought that with her father's departure from Zoar, that the city too was destroyed. And several sages is listed here, making that statement as well, that city was also destroyed. According to the Midrash cited above, that the inhabitants of Zoar were killed as part of the upheaval, and the fear of Lot's daughters easily is understandable. Rav Yosef Kara suggests that the motivation behind Lot's daughters' scheme was prompted rather by their observation of their father was old, and was futile to expect him to take a new wife, while at the same time they would not find a husband, for they would not find a man willing to marry them, since they had lived among the people who had deserved such a disaster. They therefore derived their scheme to assure the continuity of their father's line. Verse 32, that we may give life to offspring through our father. It says, Lot's daughters were motivated by a sense of sincere duty, being under the impression that the destruction was universal, to take whatever steps that they would to give birth to a son or a daughter through whom the earth could be rebuilt, and thereby demonstrated that it was not in vain that God had saved them, that they could have asked Lot to marry them, since a Noahide, the children of Noah, says, since the Noahide, a universal designation for the people of the nations, it is permitted, and I'm fixing to read this, it is permitted for those of us of the nations to marry his daughter. But their modesty prevented them, and we're going to get in that here in just a little bit. It says, perhaps such a thing was a general regard with abhorrence, and had never been done. And I'm going to go to the source where that comes from here in just a second. So as we see here, that it's not a sin for a father to marry his daughter. But we're going to get more into this here in just a few minutes. But what I wanted to do is go over here to the Divine Code, page 392 and 396. And what I want to do is I want to cover the basic acts, the forbidden acts, and the forbidden relations. On page 392 of the Divine Code, 4th edition, chapter 1, prohibition of forbidden relations, the categories of sexual partners and acts that are forbidden. There are 6 actual acts that are forbidden for the people of the nations that are actually capital sins. And an adult who participates willingly in any of these is liable. Liable means you're liable to the highest punishment. A, intercourse between a male and his father father's present or former wife who is not his mother. B, intercourse between a male and his mother. C, intercourse between a male and a female who is another man's wife, i.e., adultery with a married woman. D, intercourse between a male and another male. E, bestial intercourse in which a male person is the active partner and any other species of creature, male or female, is the passive partner, or in which any person, male or female, is in a passive partner with a mammal, is the active partner. F, intercourse between a male and his sister from his mother, i.e., his full sister or his maternal half sister. So these are the 6 actual acts that are forbidden, that are actually will bring capital. You know, you actually become liable for capital punishment on that. But that's dealt with the court of heaven today, because we are not permitted to have the nations are not permitted to put to death someone that is actually falls liable to capital sin of Torah law. And I'll just give briefly the reason for that is that when we get into these studies a little bit further and deeper, there's been the sages have stated that any nation that has the majority of the nation that does not observe, these the 7 commandments that were given to Adam through Noah, the majority of them that does not observe those, and or they have passed a law that permits the violation of any of the commandments, which, like our nation, we've passed laws to where there's actually laws, permitting certain acts that are forbidden by the Torah for those of the 7, those are the 7 laws for the nations. And so because of that, we're not permitted to have a court right now that could put to death someone for violating a capital sin. God deals with that. And that's the ruling from the priest, the priestly nation. On 396, it says the Torah law itself did not forbid a Gentile man from marrying his daughter, but this has been rejected from biblical times as a disgusting practice. And I'm going to go over to the teaching of the Ramban, who goes through that. So what we see here, what Lot's daughters did was not a sin, because we are not forbidden in that act. But since the biblical times, since the times, since I think the flood, probably since the flood, it's been seen as a disgusting act. And so the nations rejected, even though it was not a sin, they rejected that act. And the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, talks about that, where he says, here's his, and we will give life to offspring through our father. And Ramban says in the meaning, and we will give life to the offspring through our father, is even understood with an additional word of perhaps. And, because it's for let us do that which is in our power. And God will have mercy and see that we bear a male or a female offspring, and that the world would be preserved through them. He goes on. He continues. Let me see here. The ArtScroll Ramban can be sometimes fun to read the way it's broken up in the Hebrew and the English. Let's see here. he goes on down here where it says, "For the world was created in kindness," which that's in Psalms 89:3. Talks about intimate relations between a father and his daughter is reprehensible, though not technically prohibited in this case. The Rambam goes on and discusses the daughter's reasoning that God would surely approve under these circumstances. It says, now they were modest. This was a modest decision among the nations. So they did not want to tell their father that he should marry them, for a son of Noah is permitted to marry his daughter. Alternatively, the matter was considered repulsive in the eyes of those generations. It says the children of Noah, or the Noahides, is what it says here. The children of Noah, because that's what Noahide means, the children of Noah, is a rabbinical term used to describe all of mankind except for Israel, because they are separated. Israel is bound by the 613 commandments of the Torah, but the universal 7 laws are bound to, the nations are bound to them. And he says that there was repulsive in that, in the eyes of those in that generation, as such a thing had never been done. And the Rambam goes on and he says, according to this explanation, it was the repulsiveness of the idea that discouraged Lot's daughters from explicitly discussing their plan with their father, and not their modesty, actually, is this repulsiveness. See, it goes on and it talks about when Abraham settled away from, there was some more midrash. I was going to copy it down, but he goes on because Abraham even distanced himself from Lot after this event. And the sages teaches the reason why Abraham distanced himself from Lot was because of this act, was a repulsive act. And he got and Lot had now had a very repulsive reputation amongst those others in the nations for what he had done. Of course, his daughter's actually done it to him, but because of this, he could have controlled the situation. He knew he was getting drunk, which is, drunkenness is forbidden. But Abraham even distanced himself from that because during that time, it was a repulsive act. It wasn't a sin, but it was a repulsive act. And so to answer that question, what about Lot's daughters? It wasn't incest. It's not considered incest, since it's not a forbidden act. It's one of those that even though it's not forbidden, the nations themselves had took it upon themselves. Even to this day, it's a repulsive act. And it's immodest, it's repulsive. And we, in our wisdom, even though the Creator said you're permitted to do this, we have said we're not going that far. It's something that the nations had rejected. And so to answer that, that's, it doesn't violate the sin. A father marrying his daughter does not violate the sin of forbidden relations. Scotty, anything on that before I move to the next question? Because it's going to be just really kind of quick. All thumbs up. You got all your buttons pushed and going over there. There you go. Okay.
So if you look over, I think
That's-
Thomas does have a question over there.
Hold on,
let's
that's
see,
what
no.
I was going to look over here. Too.
Oh no, he's replying to.
Oh, okay. What?
Yeah, pick up Bob's. You see the let me bring y'all speaker view so I'll quit taking over it. Today the nations do not execute for Torah. The nations may execute for the sake of a civil order.
Yeah.
And then Thomas asked, what do you mean by civil order? And then I think Fred said something there too. So
You can say I'm slow because I just didn't. I just didn't get it. You know how I am.
Hey, Bob, you want to answer that on the civil order?
civil order.
Yeah, we don't we would not be allowed to execute because of the Torah laws. Because let's say we have laws that allow abortion. So if we allow abortion, we pretty much made laws against the Torah. So we're not allowed to have, we wouldn't execute people, let's say, for sexual violations because of the Torah. However, society is allowed to make laws concerning just civility in general. So we could have laws against murder, we could have laws against theft, and we're allowed to enforce those laws. Even up, in the case of murder, we might enforce the laws with an execution, but that would not be a Torah violation execution. It would be a criminal civil.
It's criminal civil.
Secular violation.
Right.
Yeah.
Good deal. You got that, Thomas? We good? Anything else, Scotty?
No, but on that note, so we're not bring this up, but I'm gonna bring this up. Bob, unmute again there. And did I see Christopher come? Hello, Christopher.
Oh, there's Christopher.
How do you
Up in
doing?
the top corner up there.
So, okay. I'm just gonna spill this bean. I'm gonna knock it over here. Hold on. I knocked it over so you can hear I knocked it over, and I got to clean it up. Fred, I'll get to you just in a second. So we always hear people's concern about the Noahide laws. They're going to behead everybody. Everything's going to be, if you just do one little thing. Now, I know that comes from past religions, but what about that? What about that the Noahide laws are just full of putting everybody to death?
Our laws by the Creator are very strict, and there are aspects of our laws which brings a liable. Might become, by doing an act, we become liable for the highest level of punishment that law can bring. Liable. That doesn't mean you're going to get it, but that means we become liable for it. And yes, that is there. But again, because of the nature of our nations, we are not permitted to have certain courts right now that would enact those things. We don't have the righteous courts and to be able to have that. It takes a certain level of righteousness for men to sit as a judge to make those decisions. But on the other hand, those that are out there making those videos and running around, they're ignorant because they haven't studied. They haven't studied, they haven't studied the commandments that we are told to keep. They've not studied the details, the meanings, and the understandings. They've not been taught by the teachers who's received these words 3,400 years ago, and have studied these for thousands of years in their original language. And that was, through Moses, was told to instruct the nations of their responsibilities. And so, again, it's those looking on the outside through, again, translation. A lot of times translation, not understanding or hearing or cherry picking, which they're really good about, cherry picking something and then going off the deep end on something like that. But like I said, I love that statement that was on Star Trek Discovery when young Spock and his human sister was talking, and she was trying to let him know that she understood because she understood, Vulcan, and he looked right at her and he said, translation is not the essence of understanding. And that is so true, especially coming to Hebrew in the Torah. Translation is not the essence of understanding, what is actually being said there. And so, yeah, there are those out there. If you get out there and you study, you're going to run into these videos. I've watched some of them, and I shake my head because I have studied. And and I listened to what they have to say, and I said, "You don't know what you're talking about." I mean, it's like me trying to do a class here next Wednesday on brain surgery because I read a book, and now I think I understand, or I heard a statement, or I watched a TV program, and now I know how to do that. You've got to become learned in this. Am I perfectly learned in it? No. I mean, you never will. The study of our commandments are eternal. We'll be studying and learning these. You think they're simple. You think theft is simple? Oh, theft is probably the most detailed and concise law that we have. That is just a friend of ours, Abby. She's a paralegal, plus she's Indian, in the India country, Indian culture, and she is very well studied in our prohibition of theft. I mean, if I've got questions, I always text or call Abby. I said, okay, because there's so much there, and we're going to be getting into just a little bit of it, Hashem willing, over the next few weeks. So you just can't hear that, well, the Noahides are going to set up guillotines. No, we're not. We're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. One, we are forbidden to do that. We can't do that right now. Like we just said, the court said that we were not permitted to put to death, by Torah law, right? For Torah law at this time, for that sake, like Bob was trying to explain. Go ahead, Scotty. I see you.
Bob, was you going to add something to that? Are you? Okay. Christopher?
No, wait a minute. Here was.
Veronica's got her hand up, but Veronica, I'm sorry. I got to throw
And
one more thing in here on that. Fred said you covered his point he was going to say.
Okay.
So, Chris, you got something to add to that before I throw this other bottle? Okay. So here, I saw a thread the other day, a couple of different times, in a post about we truly can't fulfill the Noahide laws because we don't have any courts of justice. We have to have this Sanhedrin set up. I think that's what was said in the thread a couple of different times. And so we really can't fulfill the Noahide laws until the Sanhedrin are set up. But there wasn't any Sanhedrin in Noah's days, was there?
Nope. Neither was it in Adam's either.
Okay, so how was the courts of justice established in that day? Who was the judge in that day? It's quiet on me now. Don't everybody don't turn that channel. Don't turn me on. Who was the judge in the day?
Well, they had, the laws carried down over time. Nations rejected them. Matter of fact, I can't remember how to say this. Christopher probably knows. I'm going to get this book on this now because I found a guy brought this subject up similar to that the other day in the thread. Now I've got to get this information. Christopher, what is the name of that? I think it was Babylon, the code of.
Hammurabi's code.
Yeah, the Hammurabi's code. The oldest text of, did you say it was civil law? The oldest text of civil law.
I think it's civil law.
A system of civil law, an actual code of text that's been found. I understand what little bit I have read about it. I think it's from Babylon in that area. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it, when you look at it from what little bit, like I said, I'm fixing to order a book on it that talks about this archaeological find. A lot of it has our law in it. And it's right there. It was already known during that time. And the cities had their courts and had their laws at that time, because our court system, to say that we can't observe our commandments because we don't have that. I think I know who may have said that, because I've asked that person to produce sources for their statements and they keep refusing to do so. And so, because I'm big on that. If you're going to make a statement, I want you to produce your source, from where you got that statement from. There are some things that the Jews can't observe because they don't have the temple and the Sanhedrin court and all that, because that's their court. And so, but we're in a different situation being in the nations. And yes, we can observe. I don't need a court for me to commit to God that I'm not going to, commit theft or murder, forbidden relations. The court has nothing to do with my observance. The courts are actually there for those who are disobedient, not for those who are obedient, to keep things civil. And the ones who generally end up in court are the ones who are, just like today, any court. Who's in court? It's the lawbreakers, not the law keepers. And so
Brenda asked real quick, and then I'm going to get Veronica's part. I'm sorry, Veronica, honey, I'm coming to you. Don't run off on me. But Brenda says, I thought the courts of justice that we have set up in place today were based on such things, such as the Noahide laws, the Ten Commandments, the Torah.
Right, they are. They are a partial. I've understood. If I understand right, some of the rabbis have accepted that our judicial systems and our nations do somewhat fulfill that commandment of having a justice system, even though they're imperfect the way they are right now.
It's what we have at the moment.
It's what we have we have to work with.
Right. So I'm going to get Veronica in here, and then I'm going to add another part to this. Veronica, sorry it took me so long to get to you, honey. Go ahead. What you got?
Hope that I remember exactly what my question was. Okay, so can you hear me okay first?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I'm on 3G right now. When there are Noahide courts in the future, any penalty or punishment or whatever given to a person, that person would already have known ahead of time what the law was. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's a good point.
So the arbitrary way of saying, oh, well, they're going to behead all the Christians or whatever, that cannot be true, because they would have known, or they will know, what the laws are.
What the right and the wrong is before they do the wrong.
Yes.
They're going to know.
Like I said, there's more to it. You've got to have, and the people sitting on those courts will be at a high level of righteousness too. They have to meet certain levels before they can even sit on those kind of courts.
And there's always, I'm just going to be honest, probably the majority of us, everybody but me, has done something in the past that you probably violated a law. I'm not saying it's a violation unto death, but we violated the law. But I'm going to use the word obligation. Our responsibility is to study the law into the position that it becomes part of our genetic makeup, to where we learn not to violate the law.
Yeah, it's not brain surgery. It's really simple. Matter of fact, I'm working on some information. It's going to take me some time. That I'm going to write about the simplicity of this whole thing. It's not complex at all.
Okay.
Go ahead, Fred.
Well, let me turn you down on the computer first. Okay. Anyways, over the last few years, I've been paying attention to a lot of, commentators on the radio, like Mark Levin and different constitutional scholars that teach law and stuff like that. Plus, I listen to a lot of radio station that when someone breaks the law and something happens going on. Plus, now that we have the internet, one thing that comes to my mind I've been watching here lately is this the court case of Young Thug. Remember this guy? And how that the judge in the case did something unlawfully that he wasn't supposed to do in a court of law, and the defendant attorney found out about it, and he confronted the judge in court about what happened, and then they went about and back and forth, and next thing you know, the judge had the attorney arrested unlawfully, blah blah blah. So here we go. Here we see that injustice and justice going head to head. So I would say what I've learned over the years is listening to the constitutional scholars and law and justice and things that are going on. We see that in America, thank goodness in America, that we still have somewhat of law and justice, but we also see firsthand injustice. For example, the treatment of people in this country versus those people who are not from this country. We're supposed to have those rights, but then we don't have those rights. So they're giving it to other people. So what I'm just trying to say is we're seeing some of those Noahide laws in effect today, even though there's no Noahide courts of law or that we can set up today. But we do see that the Torah, the Noahide laws are integrated into our Constitution, our way of life, and things that are going on. So the point I want to make is if we pay attention, I think we can see that. But even for laws against animals that's written in the 7 Noahide laws, how many people that I hear lately are going to jail for so many years for abuse of animals? That's a Noahide commandment. So those are things I've been listening to. That's even around here. That if we just pay attention, we can hear that. But of course, we know Hashem rules the world and things happen. But we just know that the hand of heaven is working all around us. So we just pay attention and see what's going on. We can see the injustice and we can see the justice playing out right before our eyes if we just pay attention.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell. Was you through for? Okay, I guess so. So I like what Bob put on here. Let's see, where did it go? A person is responsible to learn the laws to the best of their ability, and I agree with that. So much. But we know there are people who have been hardened. I don't want to give a reason. I don't want to give a justification, but we know there are some hard people. So one time I was running a Bobcat and cleaning this field off where people had just stacked up tons of furniture over the years. I mean, it was just it was just unbelievable. We're talking about 2 acres of where people from the community just came out and dumped, and so my employer acquired the property, and so we went out, and it took a couple of weeks to get this cleaned up. Well, now my employer's wife's brother, I always heard horror stories of when he was before I ever met him. I always heard horror stories about how he treated people and how he treated animals, and he was just a calloused. Most people thought a calloused, unfeeling man. And so we kind of, I know it sounds funny that I got connected with somebody like that, but we kind of got connected with that, and I wanted to get him out. And so I could see changes in him a little along. And I'm going to try to tell this story without crying, but it's rough to do some of these stories. So as I was running the Bobcat, somehow I had ran over some kittens, and I only found one, and it was barely alive. And my heart was breaking. And so I hollered for Bubba, and I said, Bubba, you're going to take it and put it out of its misery. I can't do it. And he said, I'll take care of it. It'll be all right. So he picked it up and he walked away, and I thought, okay, he's going to take that cat and kill it. That little kid, and he's going to take and kill it, because I've always heard this man is calloused. Nothing has affected him. He's calloused. So I got worried about the little kitten, and I turned off the bobcat, and I went to find Bubba and this kitten. I was hoping I could catch him before something happened. And we had this large roll-off dumpster setting over in the field, and I saw him go that way. So I went walking toward the dumpster, and I could hear somebody talking. And I found Bubba hiding behind the dumpster, holding that cat up to his neck, petting it, saying, "It'll be all right. I know what you're going through. It'll be okay." He nursed that kitten back to health and kept it for about 7 years after that. And so he learned, part of learning Torah is what happens is we begin to shed off our callousness. We begin to shed off the things that we didn't know, we were unlearned on, and we didn't have any feelings over. We didn't have any, it never touched us until we start getting around people that try their best. But Bubba surprised me, and at his funeral, I brought that story up, and nobody knew that story but myself, his sister, and my employer. And nobody could believe it because they hadn't spent time with Bubba over the past 3 or 4 years that he had started making his change. They just knew Bubba as the callous, unfeeling, unthoughtful, rugged man. And here suddenly I found him petting this kitten back to life. So I just want to throw that in. So, okay, Terry.
Okay, I'm going to move shortly over to. I know we're getting close to time.
Fred had now. Fred, is your hand up from before? Did I not raise it? Did I not put it down, or is it just up from before? I think it was up just from before.
Okay,
he can let me know here in a minute.
We had another question since we were talking about the ladies last week and their, being at their level of spirituality and things like that. And someone had asked a question about this passage right here in Genesis chapter 3, verse 17, where the Creator is talking to Adam, and he says, "Because you listened to the voice of your wife, and ate of the tree about which I had commanded you, saying." So they was asking the question about, Adam listening to his wife, because some of the things that we talked about last week, I'm not going to go over those. You can visit last week's class where we discussed these things with the women and different things. In verse 17 says, and to Adam he said, "Because you listened to the voice of your wife and not mine. She made you privy to the serpent's plot, and you are guilty as she. Man was not blamed for the willful, arrogant transgression. His sin." See, let me see if it goes over here. It talks a little bit about it. I'll wait on that. It says his sin was not that he ate of eating of the fruit. I'll explain that a little bit here in just a second. His sin was that he meekly succumbed to his wife's ploy. Adam was unaware at the time that the fruit he was eating was from the forbidden tree. And many sages, I've researched and read a bunch of stuff on this, and a lot of the sages teach that Adam was unaware that he was eating of the fruit of the forbidden tree. The verse is quite correct. Adam was not primarily blamed for eating of the tree. It says, "You listened to the voice of your wife, and you ate of the tree about which I commanded you, saying." So it says Adam was not primarily blamed for the eating of the tree, because he was unaware. He was accused of listening to the voice of his wife, for accepting his wife's counsel blindly, without investigation. He succumbed to her voice without examining the content of her words. What you think about that? The sin of Adam was not from the fruit of the tree, but because he blindly accepted the words of his wife without investigation.
We know that happens much today.
I mean, somebody knocks on the door. If you die today, where are you going to go? They accept blindly without investigation. When I was studying for the ministry and we were going through these certain books, it's in every seminary across our country. And I had some questions to my pastor. And I said, what about this? It says it right here in our book that I'm having to study. I was told, well, you just got to receive that by faith. Is that not what Adam just did? And where did it get him? Someone tells you to receive something by faith, they're asking you to blindly accept their words without investigation. And that was the sin of Adam. It says, about which I've commanded you. It says, my commandment was directed to you, and you should have been more conscious in obeying it. Because it says it right there. You listened to the voice of your wife and ate of the tree about which I had commanded you, saying. He didn't know that the fruit he was eating because he didn't ask, where'd you get that? He didn't investigate this situation. And it got him in trouble. It got humanity in trouble with the curse of the ground. And so when I was looking at this the other week, matter of fact, I started looking at this right after we got off class last week because this question came up. And I'm like, huh. And so when I saw this, and I'm like, he succumbed to her voice without examining the content of her words. He accepted his wife's counsel blindly without investigation. That was his sin. Because, see, Hashem says, my commandment was directed to you, and you should have been more conscious in obeying it. And so, in looking at this passage that Hashem, that Adam listened to his wife, it's nothing against her. It's he just accepted what she approached him with blindly. He already had the commandment. He should have questioned her, wait a minute here. Where did this come from? Well, it came from here. I was told we can't do that. He had to teach her on that, but he accepted it blindly. So think about that the next someone wants to give you. Don't accept blindly, investigate, even what Scotty and I are teaching here in the Torah, but don't go to outside commentaries that are from the nations who doesn't listen to the teachers and the rabbis who were instructed by God that this was given to 3,400 years ago. Don't go to the people who don't listen to the people of the book. Go look up Ramban and Rambam and go talk to our, people if you need to. We don't accept. God never asks us in his holy Torah. God never one time says, believe in me, and da. He says, know me. He will say, believe what I'm telling you, when he's coming to the commandments. But he's always instructing us to know him. And how do we get to know him? To know him is it's yada, it's knowledge, it's da'at, it's knowledge. And that's part of what we do is we study our commandments so that we can have the right kind of knowledge. And so, that last week I got into this. I mean, we probably watched Scotty 30 minutes probably after class last week.
Yeah.
I was calling you.
Yeah.
And so Adam was not primarily blamed for the eating of the tree, but because he was unaware of where the fruit came from, he was accursed of listening to the voice of his wife, accepting his wife's counsel blindly without investigation. He succumbed to her voice without examining the contents of her words. I thought that was pretty strong.
Yeah.
That's from the Or HaChaim. It's without examining the content of words. And then he goes in, and of course, right there, the tree which I commanded you, saying you should not eat of it. And it says, the Midrash Haggadah tells us, says, about which I command you, singular, God, I'm telling you, I told you not to do this. My commandment was directed to you, and you should have been more conscious. You should have been more conscious in obeying that. And that's what we need to do when we're learning our laws. We've got to become conscious. So you never know when a situation's going to sneak up on you, especially when we're going to get into study of theft. It's so easy. Theft is so easy for us to do. It can sneak up on you and you've done it and you didn't even know you've done it. And that's why it's good for us. That's why we study. That's why Scotty and I were teaching about the Noahide laws. So we can be conscious of what we're obligated to. Hey, Scotty.
All right.
You say you had anything else?
No, not tonight. I think you've pretty well covered everything. If we get started on another subject, we'll be here for another hour.
Okay.
So we're going to, so I guess I will help us make our descent, as we used to say. I want to thank everybody who's listening through Power Faith Radio. Somebody said you haven't done the call thing in a while. No, I haven't. I've got a frog in my throat. I wouldn't make it all the way through it, but I guarantee I'll do it next week. But again, we're so glad to have you listening through Power Faith Radio. And those of you that have been watching on YouTube, we thank you so much. You can find us if you've not found us on YouTube, just type in Outreach Noah and we'll come up. And while you're there, subscribe to that channel and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified every time a new video goes up. And you can go find us on Facebook at A Simple Walk. And there you'll find all the links on how you can watch and participate in the group. You can also send us an email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. Terry, thank you so much.
Scotty,
Yes.
Sharon put a question up on YouTube. I just noticed it. It says, was Adam 37 when he was created? So I'm not sure what.
Well, there's a thought on that. I'm going to let Terry or Bob
I didn't hear the
Christopher-
question.
said, was Adam 37 when he was Adam 37 when he was created? Was he created at the age of 37? And I don't
Where
know
did
if
they get that from?
Well, I've heard that a couple of times. I haven't found any text. Now, Bob, do you know of any text, or Christopher, do you know any text that supports that? So I haven't found. I've typed it in and tried to search that out. That's not the first time that I've heard this. So was that Shannon Lee? Was that Shannon? Yeah, Shannon. I haven't really found any text to support that. I have heard several people say that, and
To Bob.
And did Adam have a belly? Oh, Bob.
We could get into that. I mean, the body before things happened was different.
So I got a book. When all this is over, I'm going to ask questions, and I just put that at the top of the list.
You just,
So, but yeah, Shannon, getting back to the age of 37, we don't know. We don't have that information. We do have quite a bit. I do like my Hirsch commentary. Now, there is a text I have behind me. I'm not going to.
You can talk about the other Humish.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, because I don't recommend it for just a regular, hey, I'm gonna get that and read it, because it will
Explode your head.
yeah, you just have to yeah. So
You got to have a teacher with that one.
but even in it does not mention the age of Adam. I don't even think it mentions the belly button, Bob, just to let you know. But so that would be something that, Shannon, if you can find a source for that and maybe send it to one of us, and we'll look at it and see. But I haven't seen anything for that.
But he was an adult, correct?
Well, to be 37, he would have had to make 37 trips around the sun. So I just right off the top of my head, I don't think he had an age, because he had made that first trip around the sun.
Veronica's question was, he was an adult.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Veronica. Go ahead. Well, say that again.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I wasn't saying he was a child. He was an adult.
He was an adult. Yes, I think he was an. Yes, I agree with that, because yes, we would have to succumb to that just by basic knowledge. And Veronica, the book I was talking about, and I think even my art scroll, the white cover, it doesn't say anything about him being a baby or a kid. He had all knowledge. He named the animals. That one right there, yeah, Terry.
I haven't read anything in that yet either.
I ask a question a lot of times, and I know we're clicking off here, but I'm going to have to just jump in here. I ask a question to many of the people that I talk to, different types that I talk to still, and I just ask them these questions just to get them to think. And one of the biggies is, did Adam know the serpent? Before Eve ever went out there, did Adam know the serpent? Well, he had to. He named every beast of the field, and he just didn't name them Bob or Terry or Christopher. He named them according to what their characteristics were, and he named every beast of the field. And the text says,
and the text says that the serpent was Nakash.
He was, beast of the field. So okay. He was the most subtle beast of the field that the Lord God had created. All right, I'm going to bring us to a descent. Are we ready?
You see, you about to open another can of worms there, didn't you?
I know it. You see me pulling back, didn't you? So I just sprinkled that. That's our cliffhanger for next week with this. So again, we thank everybody. Well, I got two questions or two things over here. Let me see what they are real quick. I don't want to just. We need another. We need another know how to retreat. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And that was in that. Did Adam have a belly button? Okay, I hadn't saw that one. So that one's going to go down in the annals of history. I'm sorry, I just had to throw that in. Everybody, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.